live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night, June 5th. Real America's Voice. Glad you're in. Lots to do. Slick Rick is here. He's going to do some sports. Rick Delgado's got some news. David Zier looking good in the pink tie and the pink shirt here tonight to do some news as well. What's going to be a busy night? We are going to check in with President Trump tonight, who is holding an event. He welcomes students and influential alumni from historically black colleges and universities for a special conversation and dinner tonight at Mar-a-Lago, and the president is set to speak at this event. I'm not sure if he's giving opening remarks or just some remarks at some point, but we expect the president around 8:45 or so, and that could vary either way. But
it's fluid.
It's fluid always, of course, with the president. So we'll see. But we're going to take those. We're going to take those remarks live when it happens, and we think around 8:45. So we'll take that. Josh Hammer from Newsweek is going to join us tonight, probably right after the president, around 9 o'clock.
Wow.
So he's going to join us, and he's written, as I believe, brought on this show many fine articles and real legal. Talk about legal experts and great legal minds. He's one of them. Writes for Newsweek, senior editor at large, host of the Josh Hammer Show. So he'll join us to talk about President Trump and talk about where we are with the appeal in New York and the ever-growing clamoring for President Trump to petition and find a way to get to the Supreme Court, which I believe Mr. Hammer has some very interesting thoughts on that, some things that I hadn't thought of, which make a lot of sense, actually, when he says it. Well, he's way smarter than, well, at least me, really all of us, maybe not Zier. Zier's pretty smart. But when he
checks in the mail, checks in the mail.
No, he makes some good points. So we'll talk to him around 9 o'clock. Slick, how are you?
I'm doing good, Big D.
What's coming up in sports? Anything exciting? What's the big game? No big games tonight, right?
No, tomorrow night's the big NBA game, one of the finals. There'll be Celtics in Dallas in TD Garden, 8:30 p.m. We'll have that as well tomorrow night, of course.
You have the Celtics.
I like the
and
Celtics.
I have the Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine either team winning, Big D. I would like to see Dallas win because they have, I mean, obviously, Boston's going for their 18th championship in their franchise history. Dallas, have they won one maybe? I don't even think did they win one, Dallas?
Yeah, they have one.
They won one. But Dallas could use another one. They certainly don't have 18, that we know. So we have that. We have NHL Stanley Cup Finals coming up. And, well, apparently 10 teams have refused to jump on board in the NFL for the LGBTQ, messaging and branding. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
Really?
And, and Travis Kelce shares his warning that he got from the White House Secret Service Agency as well when he made his little trip to see Joe.
Don't get too close to Biden or he might drool on you. What was it? No.
Well,
okay, we'll find out.
We're going to uncap that when we speak on sports.
Okay, very good. Mr. Zier, how are you tonight?
I'm great. Just left the job site. It was a beautiful day.
It was a beautiful day. Tomorrow's not going to be so beautiful.
Caught some rays out there with the crew.
Yeah. But that's why you're wearing pink tonight, to show off your tan?
Yes.
It looks good.
I raced home. I just made it here.
It's a good decision.
Thank you. Thank you. So a lot going on. I just wanted to tell everybody my friend's niece died, Heather McNamara. She was 22. She was one of the first people in 2011 to receive the special surgery where they had to remove 6 major organs to get rid of a cancerous tumor. She survived another 13 years, I guess. And she passed away. She's being laid out in East Islip tonight, and the fire department closed down the road both directions. Very special girl. So my friend Mike Mikulovich, our heart goes out to you.
For sure. God,
young woman.
22?
Yeah, I have a letter she wrote. Maybe later we can get to it.
You know what? I did see that covered in the news, actually.
Wow. Way back?
Yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she just died.
Passed over the weekend, right?
Yeah. Yeah, a very special woman.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your loss.
I'll be at the wake tomorrow for a few minutes. I didn't know her, but her uncle is my very good friend, Mike Mikulovich from Florida. So,
all right, very good. Well, our thoughts and prayers to the family as well. Please pass them along. Yeah. Yes. Rick Delgado wearing his Crazy Town T-shirt tonight. How are you? I heard you had it so well. I mean, you kind of. You threw me off because you came in here like a ball of fire. And you said, wait till you hear what happened to me.
And,
of course, I want to know immediately, Because I want the scoop before you tell. But no, you wouldn't tell me.
No, I'm not telling you. Why would I tell you? Because then it ruins it for everything.
Right.
I'm not going to retell the story twice. I'm going to tell it once, and that'll be that.
Okay. How was your day?
It was crazy. You know what time my day started?
4:30.
12:45 this morning.
Wow.
Why did it start at 12:45 this morning? Can't ask me.
You
Why did it start at Why did it start at 12:45? You guys found some weeds outside?
No. Something from outside did come inside. I didn't find out about it until about 12:45. So I go to bed, right? I go to bed about 11:30. You know, we get home from the shows about 10:30. I'm a little wound up. I need to chill out. I have my cookies and milk, and I go to bed.
Warm milk?
No.
Oh.
So Kate stayed up because she was waiting for the boy to get back from the senior trip they went to, right? So she stays up. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Who cares? But I'm in bed. I'm sleeping. All of a sudden, I see this face in my face. I'm like, what's going on? Kate's leaning over. She's like, I'm so sorry. I have to wake you up. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, there's a bat in the house.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what? She's like, there's a bat in the house. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's a bat in the house. She's like, downstairs, there's a bat in the house. While she was sitting waiting for him to get home, they got home late. So she's watching TV. She's sitting there watching TV, but she's fading off to sleep. You know how you do. You fade off to sleep. All of a sudden, she's like, what was that? You know, she closed her eyes again. Right by her face. She's like, what is going on? She thought it was maybe she thought it was I think she said it was a mosquito or something, or one of those moths that got in the house, was buzzing her in the face. So she's like, I don't know what's going on. So she stands up, she turns on the light, she's looking around trying to find this thing, and all of a sudden, flies by her head. Now it's going back and forth through the house, right? Mm-hmm. This is at about 12:30. I don't know any of this because I'm upstairs sleeping. Now, she's trying to get this. She's opening the doors. She's trying to shoo this thing out of the house, but it keeps swooping in and almost hitting her in the face. So then, all of a sudden, now this is when I get involved.
I hope the weed torch is involved with this story. This would be great.
I wish it would have been.
Are we going to get to the point?
I probably would have set the house on fire, though.
Is this still going
around? So anyhow, she wakes me up. Now, I'm not one to sleep in pajamas. I'm in my underwear, right?
Oh.
All right. So I go downstairs in my T-shirt and my underwear. I'm like,
2 a.m.
what's
Hammer
going on?
Fight Club? What?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Believe me, I brought a bat, not a hammer. So I go downstairs, and I'm like, where is it? She's like, it's up there. And it's in the corner. You see it in the corner. It's like in the corner of the thing. And it's just sitting there. And it's upside down. The damn thing is upside down like this, and it's just looking at us.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, the damn thing's looking at us. So I'm like, all right, now how do I get this thing? Now I'm looking around. I'm like, what do I have to grab this thing? I have nothing in the house to grab this thing, right? Who has stuff in the house to grab a bat? Nobody. So I go outside. I'm like, I know what I got. You have a pool. You have the skimmer. You know, the skimmer with the big net, and you scoop up the leaves?
Yeah.
I got one of those.
Yeah.
So
how's that going to work for you?
I have to put on, I don't know where my shoes are, so I have to put on Kayla's Crocs. Now, Kayla's Crocs don't really fit, so I put my little lady feet into her Crocs, and I run out there in my underwear, run around the pool trying to find this thing.
That ought to be something. You got the video on that?
No, I told her, I said, do not take any pictures. I run back with this thing, and now I got to climb on the couch. So now I'm climbing on top of the couch because it's in the corner of the living room. Now my couch goes like this, and it's got this weird corner. And
this is bat bleep crazy. Yeah. This story.
So I'm climbing.
Did you catch it or not?
I'm climbing up there with this thing, and I'm trying to. You got to move slow because you don't know if it's gonna. Because if it jumps out at me, I scream like a girl. So if it jumps out at me, that's not gonna be good, and it'll get loose again. So I'm grabbing the thing, I'm turning it. I'm like, all right, how do I adjust this because I need to get this guy and then finally, I'm just like, all right, and I think I line it up, and I'll whop. And all of a sudden, it starts making this sound, and it's in the net, and you see it flapping around in the net. I got a little cut in my net. All of a sudden, the thing starts trying to get out. All of a sudden, it's starting to peel his face. It's starting to pull out of the net. It's the craziest thing. I'm like, oh my God, get me the tongs. So she runs up. Yeah, exactly. It was like Batman trying to get out. So she gets me the tongs, and I'm like grabbing the thing by the head with the tongs, trying to hold it in the net because I got to get this damn thing out of the house. Now, finally, one of the kids wake up. Kayla comes running down. She's like, what's going on? She's like, is that a bird? Is that this? She's like, it's a bat. She starts screaming, it's a bat, because we told her it's a bat. So we're like, open the door. So now we're both trying to hold this thing into the net, and I'm holding the thongs, and she's holding the other thing to hold it over the top with a cushion, so the damn thing doesn't get out. And then this thing starts screaming. It starts screaming. Have you ever heard a bat scream? I thought I walked in on Slick Rick with his macaw. It was going caw, caw, caw. And all of a sudden,
Biden sucks.
all of a sudden, like we get around the thing and we're bringing it outside, and the damn thing is still pulling itself out. And I'm trying to hold it with the tongs without killing it because I don't want to kill the bat. And finally, boom, we pull it up, and the bat flies off.
Wow.
That's how my day started.
I'm so glad I asked.
That is how my day started.
So all this crime took
12:45.
place in Gotham because the bat was in your house.
Thank you,
Right.
Grandpa Munster, for that story.
Yeah.
It's classic.
It was the craziest thing.
It was bad.
It took me another hour to get to sleep. I had to be up at 4.
Yeah.
I was a mess for the entire day just
Joe-
because the bat.
Joe on Facebook said it's like a great outdoors scene with John Candy.
Right.
Just think how the bat was feeling. And you worry about how you're feeling.
Well, at least he's alive to go
That's true.
fight crime.
You did a good job there. So
I
I think
did.
he made
I-
it back to his sarcophagus before dawn.
I had bats in the belfry.
Our new handle here is going to be Studio 6B. Same time, same bat channels.
yeah. All right, very
So
good,
that's what happened
Delgado.
to
I'm
me.
glad I asked about that. So hopefully tonight's not nearly as
Man.
exciting as last night. So.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you enjoy the play, right?
Yeah. So there's a piece in Newsweek today. Well, there's a lot going on today. You see what happened in Georgia. And I just could not help but all day think about after the appellate court suspended the Georgia case against Trump until after it considers the disqualification appeal on Fani Willis. All I could think about today was that the phones have got to be ringing up in New York. Kind of like Newt Gingrich told us the phones were ringing in Georgia when they said, we need your grand jury to indict tomorrow. And Fani Willis said, well, they're not even going to be back until later in the afternoon. No, you're not hearing us. I can imagine that same scenario today saying, well, you're our only shot now. You've got the conviction. You're the last resort. The only shot we have to get this guy off the campaign trail for the entire rest of the year lies in now your hands, Judge. So you got the extra smackdown now has to come for this sentence on July 11th. Whatever you were thinking about doing, throw that out the window and call up Rikers and tell him that he's on his way. That's what I imagine happened today behind closed doors. Because this now is their only shot. Because there's no other case, there's no other anything that's going to happen before the election. Before we, the people, have a chance to have our verdict and our voices heard. And I'm not kidding, by the way. I could just imagine what the phone calls were today, knowing that this sentencing is coming up. And this is it. This is their last ride before we get to have our say.
Yeah. DC's not happening. Florida's definitely not happening. And now
Definitely
Georgia's
not
not happening.
That's it. This is
There
it.
you go.
They got 1 day left, the sentencing, on this sham, bogus nonsense. So we'll get into all of that. I'll ask Josh Hammer about that as well. He'll join us at 9 o'clock. President Trump, hopefully around 8:45. Sports and news all in between. All right, we're live on social media. If you're watching on social media, make sure you hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, chat. Welcome on in.
Share it with your friends. Share it with your friends. Share it even with people who aren't your friends.
Give a shout out to Chinchilla, Moon Pie, Jeff. Hello, Buzzard. Good evening. Tina M. Got a great crew tonight. YouTube Live. Bucky's fan.
What's up,
Julie,
Jeff?
she's everywhere.
Hello, Kathy. Adrian from Pennsylvania. Scranton, PA. Yaboo.
Yaboo, slick, Rick. That's gone, that song. Don't hear
Tony
it anymore.
Lucci, best show on television. Thank you. I'm with you, Damon. The fix is in, Lorraine says.
Yeah. No doubt about that.
Bum, bum, bum. Peggy says hello to David Zier.
Hey, Peggy. That's short for Margaret. On what platform are you?
Bat soup at Woody's tonight on the menu.
Are you on X? What are you on with Peggy?
She was on Facebook, I believe. I'm on I get all of them in one place, so that's what I'm watching.
I never understood people who are called Peggy. Sometimes it's short for Margaret. Does anyone know why?
Yes, because I hate the name Margaret.
Marie says hi from St. James.
St. James, really? Long Island?
Is that New York St. James or a different St. James? Buffalo, New York every night.
On Facebook?
I don't know. I lost it now. I believe on Facebook, yep. Delgado is Batman. Yes, he is.
One of my friends watches the show. She goes, "Oh my God, he sure knows how to make a short story long." You see the picture I have of you in the backyard?
No.
Oh.
Did you send it?
Yeah.
Zier wearing his Pepto-Bismol tonight. That's close.
That was Delgado in the backyard with his crotch.
Got some hints of that color.
I have Pepto-Bismol on the inside,
well,
too.
It depends.
I drink that
more
stuff like 2% milk.
All right, 17 past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night. Real America's Voice, glad you're in. President Trump's going to be speaking at this event he's doing tonight for influential alumni from historically black colleges and universities. He'll be giving some remarks around 8:45. We're going to be monitoring the events down there, and whenever the president takes the stage, we will bring it to you. We'll do some news with Delgado and Zier here coming up, but let's start, as we always do at this time, with a little sports. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell and MyPillow. LFS6B is the promo code to use if you shop at MyPillow. Great savings on all the great stuff from Lindell. Slick Rick, what's going on?
All right, Big D. Well, we'll get to the scores first. Hold on a second. We'll get to some scores. We got Major League Baseball tonight. Dodgers right now taking on the Pirates. Pirates lead that 8-3, bottom 5. Yankees blanking the Twins 4-0 in the Bronx, bottom 5. Bottom 4, Orioles and Blue Jays tied at 2. White Sox blanking the Cubs 1-0, top of the second. Boy, Chicago Cubs having a rough season. Tigers and Rangers, no score, bottom 1st. We got earlier today some finals. Red Sox blanked the Braves 9-0. Cardinals over the Astros 4-2. Giants down the Diamondbacks 9-3. Phillies blanked the Brewers 2-0. And the Mets knock off the Nationals 9-1. Padres and Angels 9:38 first pitch, and 9:40 will be the Mariners at the Athletics. Well, I want to get to this story here. Travis Kelce shares warning secret gave him during White House visit. They weren't too happy with me. Travis Kelce said the Secret Service said they were authorized to tase him. Paulina Dadaj of Fox News. I'm going to get to the story, gentlemen. Travis Kelce finally got his chance at the president's podium last week when Kansas City Chiefs visited the White House on Friday. But the veteran tight end revealed on Wednesday that the Secret Service had issued a stern warning before the day's events. Speaking with brother and former Philadelphia Eagles Senator Jason Kelce on the New Heights podcast, Travis revealed that after last year's incident, which included him showing up to the White House without a valid form of identification, members of the Secret Service weren't particularly fond of him. The Secret Service that's all over the White House, they weren't too happy with me. They weren't too happy with me on my second time visiting, he recalled with a laugh. I caught bleep for that. I made sure because of what happened last year and how embarrassed I was for going to the White House with an expired ID, I made sure that I brought my passport this time. Despite showing up prepared for his champion's visit, Travis explained that he had to have a word with Secret Service to avoid any similar stunts to last year. When I walked in, we had 4 or 5 Secret Service members come up to me and tell me, if you go up to that podium, we're authorized to tase you, he related. Despite the warning, President Biden did, in fact, give Travis his moment at the podium, which he kept short because of the warning. Well, you nailed it, Jason said. The Chiefs are eyeing a three-peat this season, and if successful, their fans can expect to see 87 back on the stage. It's always an honor to go to the White House, Travis said Wednesday. Anytime that I get a chance to get recognized by the President of the United States and get to go with my teammates experiencing a group of men and women that I had success with to the point where we get to be acknowledged. I'm doing it every single time, no matter who's up there at the helm, no matter what's going on in this world. I think it's just such a cool opportunity. The Secret Service also appeared to warm up to Travis this year, giving him a Secret Service pin and challenge coin. But they did threaten to tase him if he ran up to the podium, took out old Joe. But, Joe says he was the originator of the stiff arm, back in the day.
Of course he was. He came up with that.
He's like another Barry Sanders,
Yeah.
He's actually the model for the Heisman Trophy. You didn't know that about Joe, did you?
No, I didn't know that, Rick. They really went. Well, that's about right. Sure, he was back around then. Yeah, I think he went to high school with Jim Thorpe back in the early 1900s, late 1800s.
Maybe they just wanted Taylor to write a song about all of them if they tased them or something like that. Can you imagine the song she's going to write once this is finally over? These two?
Oh, the relationship? Oh my God, man. Wow.
Once this is over.
Yeah. What was the song Blank Space? Was that like Biden's brain?
It's Biden's theme song for
exactly.
the election this
I
year.
got a blank space. And if I got one more story, Big D, 10 NFL teams so far refuse LGBTQ Pride Month messaging. This is Paul Boy of Breitbart. As many as 10 professional NFL teams have refused to offer any LGBTQ Pride Month messaging for the month of June. Of the NFL's 32 professional teams, just 22 commemorated Pride Month with the start of June over the weekend via social media, reaching a combined 42 million followers overall. This is Fox News. The Washington Commanders, for example, said Pride Month is actually about love. The Commanders, Buffalo Bills, and Philadelphia Eagles changed the color of their logos to match a pride flag. The Vikings not only tweeted out their support and changed their logo, but also changed the banner on the X account. They are apparently very excited about Pride Month.
Well,
Minnesota, of course. What do you expect? While the main NFL account did not issue a direct LGBTQ Pride Month message, it did repost messages from the Chicago Bears, Jacksonville Jaguars. The 10 teams will refuse to issue a Pride Month message as of this writing are, and you ready for these?
Yeah, let's hear them.
All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, your Dallas, Texas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers, which is ironic, and New Orleans Saints, and Atlanta Falcons. Last year, the National Hockey League said its teams would no longer wear rainbow-colored LGBTQ-themed jerseys during pregame warm-ups for Pride Nights. And that same year, NHL Pride Nights became a hot topic of conversation. Remember the whole Ivan Provorov story and what have you? Goes on to talk about all that. But long on, those are your 10 teams. 10 teams, Big D. So 1/3 of the league is, pulling back. This is only June, though. This is this month. Right?
This is their month, right? Didn't they claim this month? Nobody voted on it.
They did. Right. But you have Juneteenth this month, too, right? On the 19th?
I'm sure we do.
All right.
Slick, I just wanted to add, the Yankees, that lineup with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, they have like 105 RBIs between them already. Not even halfway through the season. Reminiscent of the 98 Yankees. They're 43-19. They were 42-10 back then.
And I think the Yankees actually, they also declined to do anything in the Major League Baseball, right? They backed off on that. So very interesting. But that's a wrap in sports, Big D. Took a lot of time. Thanks.
Okay, Slick. Very good. We'll do some more sports here. Probably an hour or two, depending on when the president takes the stage at about 8:45, we believe. And then we'll have Josh Hammer from Newsweek on around 9, if the president's wrapped by then. Let's do some news now, though, with Rick Delgado. What's going on?
All right. Well, this story coming from, I guess she's on her own these days. Emmy-winning and Emmy-nominated investigative reporter Catherine Herridge. She's got a news story out. This is posted on X. New criminal referrals from the leadership of the GOP going after James Biden and Hunter Biden for lying to Congress. The committee attached to this letter for a referral for criminal charges against Hunter and James Biden under 18 U.S.C. false statements, and additionally for Hunter Biden under 18 U.S.C. 1621 for perjury. As the attached referral shows, Hunter and James Biden made provable false statements to the Oversight Committee and Judiciary Committees about key aspects of the impeachment inquiry and what appears to be a conscious effort to hinder the investigation focus on President Joe Biden.
How about the ones for Fauci and for Merrick Garland? Because they did the same thing. Did they send those out today, too?
Yeah, I don't think those went out just yet. James Biden's congressional testimony from May 2017 with Tony Bobulinski. They have excerpts of it from the transcript, of course, using that to move forward with this, and we'll see what happens. Again, this is big news because let's face it, nobody's been prosecuted as a Democrat, right? We failed to see any Democrat prosecutions, but we see I forget who is in jail right now, but Steve Bannon is up next, I guess.
Navarro.
Peter
Navarro, that's who I was thinking of. The House Republicans referred Hunter and James to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution, accusing the pair of making false statements. The referrals were filed on Monday, come nearly 7 months after the House Republicans first authorized the impeachment inquiry. The investigation, it says here, according to James Comer, revealed that President Biden knew about, participated in, and benefited from his family's cashing in on the Biden name around the world. Despite this record of evidence, President Biden continues to lie to the American people about his involvement in these influence peddling schemes. It appears making false statements runs in the Biden family, he said. We've caught President Biden's son and brother making blatant lies to Congress in what appears to be a concerted effort to hide Joe Biden's involvement in his family's schemes. Mm-hmm. So there you have that. I also got a clip of Scott Perry, I think.
Bob Costello, my last interview with Miranda Devine, put together that roadmap from the laptop for that Delaware grand jury to prosecute Hunter Biden. So Bob Costello's an American hero.
All right, there you go. We'll continue this when we get back right after this.
Vice President Louis.
How about Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah.
Sleepy Hollow.
I mean, do you think this is a distraction list or do you think this is the real list?
Could be.
I don't think it's a real list.
I like Carson.
Can't be.
Doug Burgum, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, Elise Stefanik, Ben Carson. I mean, I like Dr. Ben Carson a lot.
Oh,
too.
yeah,
he's
sure.
great.
Burgum, Rubio, and Stefanik, they're out. They're not going to have
all of them.
That's just to make those.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, Byron Donalds and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, I could definitely. But, I mean, the others are Doug Burgum. What?
I don't think he's really in consideration. But
No,
J.D. Vance can attract some of the independent voters, I think.
It's like the endorsements. I don't see Laura Loomer finally on board.
Yeah.
Who is advising him on these endorsements? And these, I just don't understand.
We saw what happened in Jersey yesterday.
Unless policy just has no. For Doug Burgum to be on the list tells me that actual policy is not factoring in at all.
I think it's about fossil fuels for him.
I think it's more about keeping certain people on your side.
Yeah.
I think it's just political. No intention, I don't
15 to 20 minutes out on Trump? Okay, well, that still puts us around 8:45, right? 8:28? Yeah. 8:45, 8:50?
Pretty good amount of viewers already. Didn't get her. 8,500.
Hey, do we have a list of clips? I didn't see it.
I'll get to it.
Oh, okay.
Maybe by 10.
Huh?
Said maybe by 10.
Alan Fuller says Mark Robinson, hands down. Mark Robinson is, I think, taking the lead in his race now after being down for a while.
He's up like 2 or something.
All right, 30 minutes past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night. Real America's Voice. Glad you're in. Slick's doing sports. Delgado's going to do some more news here. David Zier's going to do some news as well. We're waiting on President Trump, live from Mar-a-Lago. We expect that still around 8:45 or so that the president will speak, and we will take that. Again, he is welcoming students and influential alumni from historically black colleges and universities for a special conversation and dinner at Mar-a-Lago tonight. The president will be speaking. And some of the people in attendance, they sent me this kind of rundown of what's happening there tonight. This founder of Conserve the Culture, which regularly coordinates events for Atlanta's historically black colleges and university students open to conservative ideas, to meet with politicians and activists. This is Michaela Montgomery. Her viral embrace of President Trump in the Atlanta Chick-fil-A. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's going to be there. So it should be very interesting. And obviously, we've seen what some categorize as a seismic shift happening. Probably started in 2020. But certainly now, I think you're going to see we should be seeing seismic shifts in a lot of voting blocks.
Yeah.
But certainly in the African American and young people. I saw 50 Cent, by the way.
Really?
Up at Capitol Hill tonight because he's not interested in becoming 25 cent. I mean, between inflation and taxes,
He's more
and
like 10
else,
cent now.
Right.
What are you talking about?
He doesn't want to be 10 cent. He wants to
rub two
stay
nickels together to
50
make
cent.
dime.
He's been vocal for some time.
I got a game I could teach him.
Yeah.
Or
you
maybe
do.
he can go to
Nickel.
dollar cent. He can go to dollar. Get rid of the cents. But right now, with
Dollar,
Biden
dollar.
in the office, he's more trending towards, 25 cent. But he was asked from some reporter there, of course, whose dreams just got crushed right there in the moment, why he was there and what he sees happening in the African American community. And he says, I see young black kids, I forget the word he used, but I see him with Trump. And of course, after she wanted to pick herself off the ground, she said, why do you say that? And he said, well, because he's got RICO charges. And so, he says, we identify with Trump. Identifies the word he used. I see them identifying with Trump, he said, because they got RICO charges.
I wouldn't say so much about the RICO charges.
Well, that's just what he said. I'm just reporting what he said.
I would think it's probably more has to do with the success. It's about success. What drives certain communities, like when you're in a lower income, you gravitate looking for ways to make more money, and I think that's what people are looking for. They look at this guy; he's got money. They've seen the rappers that they grew up with, put him in songs and idolize him and hang out with him at games and fist bumping him and all that stuff before he ran for president. He was very popular in music. Yep. I mean, there are over 100 songs with his name used.
Yep. Remember the video I just played of Judge Joe Brown, too?
Yeah.
What he said. Trump funded Al Sharpton's 2 runs.
Right.
Back then, people didn't remember that.
No, it wasn't Sharpton. It was Jesse Jackson.
Jesse Jackson, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Funded a lot of early black entrepreneurs who couldn't get loans from banks.
Yep.
On a handshake.
Yep.
So we know what time it is.
Yeah, Prince wrote a song, Black Donald Trump, years ago. The Time performed it, and it's a great song. You ever hear it? Slow song, the Black Donald
Trump got the Rainbow Coalition Award in 1989, I think.
Yeah, again, this before they decided to make him a racist because he wanted to run for president as a Republican. Now, if he ran as a Democrat, oh my goodness, he'd be the best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, that's like, there's videos of him walking on Joe and Mika in the morning set, and it's just her falling over for him.
Yeah.
All of them. The View, all the late nights. Remember, you used to go on
goodness.
Jimmy Kimmel, not Jimmy Kimmel, the other Jimmy doofus, what's his name on NBC? Fallon.
Oh, Fallon.
Remember Fallon would play with the hair and all that stuff?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great until he decided to run.
Yeah, Oprah used to love him. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, remember
The View used to love him. Remember?
Yeah.
All that. Oh my goodness, he's evil. He's Hitler. He's this. He's that. Come on, shut up.
But as Rudy Giuliani told us, and this is why the president continues to make overtures and commitments to the priorities of the black community, Rudy Giuliani was on this show and said there was no group that came up to him more in the streets when he was out there than black mothers who said, Mr. Mayor, we don't want less cops. We want more cops.
Yep.
We don't want less laws. We want more laws. We don't want less security. We want more security. We don't want less schooling. We just want better schooling. We want more choice schooling. Because we know that schooling, the police, structure is the only thing standing between our kids and a life of drugs and jail. He said there was no other demographic group that came up to him more.
I worked with the Giuliani administration with developers for many years in the 90s, and they turned around black community after black community, Bushwick, Williamsburg, Bowler Avenue, Allerton Avenue in the Bronx, Coney Island, Fulton Downtown Broadway, 116th in Lenox, Harlem. That was all Giuliani.
So, obviously, President Trump has made great strides in the black community. We can remember that from 2020, some of the things he was putting in place. But I think, and maybe this event tonight will get a little more of a feel for what the president says. But I think the numbers say that we're going to see a huge shift in those numbers again to the upward side for President Trump and away from the Democratic plantation, as our friends Diamond and Silk used to call it. And that just because our parents grew up with a D next to the name, meaning we had to because we were the black families and that's what we did, that's becoming less and less and less, you're hearing. The suburbs are more diverse than they've ever been. And capitalism continues to raise and bring people out of poverty, show them the American dream, show them what upward mobility they have in this country. And, of course, Trump embraced all of that. Individual liberty, capitalism, freedom, sovereignty over your money, which he's making a much bigger push for now, by the way. Obviously, it's hard to judge his 4 years because of in the deficit spending that they did because of COVID, obviously. But hopefully that would be we'd see hopefully much different fiscal policy coming out of a second administration as far as money printing. Although we may not have a choice again given the scenario that we're in. But we should be seeing this in many groups, not just the African American community. I don't know how anyone in the Jewish community votes for Biden. I just don't. Yeah. I don't know how anybody votes for Biden. I don't care what part of. I don't care if you're from deep blue New York City. I don't know how if you're a Jew in this country you vote for Biden, or I don't know how you say Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and Chuck Schumer is who represents me after what they've done in the last 8 months.
Yeah, and as Bannon said, there's 750,000 Americans living in Israel, and 500,000 of them vote, and 80% of them are GOP, but not here. It's like the opposite. It's the Reform Jews in the United States. They are not Republicans.
Hey, I see my old buddy on YouTube watching. What's up, Clint? Good to see you. Glad you're in here. Yeah, so we'll see, and I think the president will continue tonight to make overtures as he does. And again, we're waiting on him now in the next, hopefully, maybe 5-10 minutes, and we'll take those comments. But in the meantime, let's do some news here with David Zier, the host of Breaking Point, 8 a.m. right here on Real America's Voice every Saturday morning. What's going on, Mr. Zier?
Chicago's what's going on. I'll be interviewing Pastor David Lowry from Chicago. As a local black leader. They're all getting together. And I also have Terry Newsom on my show, an activist in Chicago. They have Border 911 coming on June 12th to Chicago. And you can get in touch with me, Facebook me directly, or on X at Dave Zier. I will get you the information. But the black leaders in Chicago are furious. And I don't know if you saw the news with this couple that was robbed and beaten, and they were surrounded by gang members in Chicago, and the baby was killed in the woman's womb. Just a tragic attack, and they were saying, we own the streets. You can't just walk around here prancing in your little dresses. And this is what's going on in Chicago. In 2023, Chicago had 5 times the murder rate of New York City. So the black pastors have gotten together. I've been working with a ton of them. They're coming back to the America First warehouse with the Mordecai mission across the country. Leon Benjamin, William Green, David Lowery, and there's two other prominent local black leaders that are not your traditional preachers, because the problem in the black churches in this country is they're hostage to the NAACP and big Democrat money. And you've got this underground emerging of black pastors willing to take the risk to do what you were just talking about. So it's something to really pay attention to. June 12th, on 115 Bourbon Street in Marionette Park, Illinois. That's next Wednesday. And they have Tom Holman, Sarah Carter, Mike Waltz, and others there. So they're fed up. And I heard that Mayor Johnson, Brandon Johnson, wants to put 800 bleed kits throughout the city. There's so many now. They're saying, shootings are down, but they're still at this ridiculous high from all time. They want to put trauma kits in on the street, so when people get shot, they can, fix a sucking chest wound or something.
What?
Yeah, this is their answer for crime.
Tourniquets.
Just like Mayor Adams wanted to put vending machines with Narcan in it and crack pipes in there, so there are needles that are clean.
Well, you get the government you vote for, right? You get the situation that you asked for. This guy ran on getting rid of police.
Yeah. So there's a lot of action going on in Chicago, and I hear that there's going to be turf wars going on between the Venezuelan gangs and black community members. They're getting the housing. Blacks are losing facilities. Vendors sleeping on the street, like Burquam's always showing in Chicago. So a lot going on in the inner cities, and there may be, and there's a lot of work to do, because if you're not on the ground and you're not in the polls, and you're not ballot harvesting, you can't really make a difference in the inner cities too much. But maybe there's a sea change coming throughout key cities and battleground states, even if it's an extra 5%. And that will definitely put Trump over the top for sure in these battleground states.
Yeah, did you hear about the 19-year-old that shot those two cops in New York City?
Yeah.
Follow up on that story today.
What was today?
The 19-year-old migrant charged with shooting two NYPD officers told police he was recruited by a violent Venezuelan gang.
Yeah.
Their Big Apple coordinator. They have a coordinator to join a crew of snatch and grab mopeded thieves. Law enforcement said they illegal.
Who's the coordinator? Does he work in the mayor's office?
Probably. The coordinator for the brutal gang provides its members in New York City with mopeds used in lucrative cell phone robberies. He told police, "This is organized crime. We're importing organized crime across the border. Joe Biden is allowing this to happen."
Well, we're helping organize it.
He's actually flying in. He's probably flying these people in because, they do a lot of flights out of Venezuela.
Well, they teamed up with MS-13, too, from El Salvador.
It's unbelievable.
All right, President Trump should be coming up. We will be watching, and as soon as we see him, we will bring it to you live from Mar-a-Lago. Josh Hammer will join us after the president, hopefully around 9 o'clock, senior editor-at-large at Newsweek. Talk about the president and his situation. All coming up. So what are we looking at there? We got a live shot? There it is. Okay.
Oh, wow. Now, did they get the fruit cup yet, or are they waiting on salad?
I don't know.
That looks like a pretty cool place. I've never been down there.
It's nice.
How's the burgers?
David Z's been. He's a regular there.
Food's pretty good.
Yeah? I mean,
pretty good?
Well, yeah, well,
Pretty good?
you're talking to David Z here. Come on.
That's right. I'm talking to Chef Lagazi.
It's not amazing. It's good. Some stuff's really good.
David Z knows his food, man.
Ruby says, hi, Big D, Rick D, Big Z, Slick, Aaron, and Fran. Hello,
Slick.
Ruby.
That's amazing.
Where's my buddy Clinton? Is he still in the chat? We grew up together. Nice to see him in there.
Who, Clint Black?
You won't believe this. I don't know if he's still in there, but our old hometown is in the news today. Do you believe
Really?
this?
What do you guys do?
Oh, my God. I just can't even believe it.
What's that?
Horror show?
Is it turning into Florida? Connecticut is turning into Florida.
What a disaster.
Well, yeah.
My hometown, what a disaster.
It's going south.
Is your hometown.
Oh, my God, the police. They had an officer, and I actually think it's somebody we went to school with, his family. I recognize the last name. But the kid couldn't. He was too young. Killed in the line of duty.
Oh, God.
And they requested to fly the, police thin blue line flag. Yeah, the city council of my hometown denied it.
I believe it.
Oh, my God.
That's terrible over there. Oh, I mean, come on. Really? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just unbelievable. So different than
Marlo
what
Thomas crowd.
my friend,
Marlo Thomas.
one of my really good friends' father was chief of police when I was growing. I mean, it was just gone to hell. Totally gone to hell.
I got Tom. On antibiotics.
No, Jeremy, it's not New York. You're right, but we're talking about Connecticut, but just about the same.
Man, I'm tired. I hope there are no friggin' bats in the house today.
Bats in the belfry.
Bats in the belfry.
How did the bat get in? Do you have any idea?
I think it was the
Maybe you want
the
to.
attic window.
Was it a Louisville slugger?
Maybe you want to close up the window.
Yeah,
We have a lot of bats.
Might be
I'm not far
a
from
good
you
idea.
guys. And
I
I had a
closed it.
bat in my Florida room.
Yeah, we have them out in the backyard at night. We see
Yeah, I
them.
see them once in a while.
We see
too.
them come flying. They come down,
Yeah.
come down, and go back up.
Yeah.
All right, 13 to the hour, live from Studio 6B. Still waiting on President Trump, live from Mar-a-Lago. As soon as the president takes whatever it is, I don't know if he's going to speak from the table or from a podium or wherever. We'll take it as soon as we see him. In the meantime, let's do a little more news. First with David Zier, then we'll do some more with Rick Delgado. What else is going on, Mr. Zier?
A lot going on out there. Everybody's crazy. And I just wanted to play this 19-year-old whose brother was kidnapped by Hamas. Cut number 4. It's one of the 25 or 30 people from families taken hostage by Hamas that I interviewed the other night. I just promised the families I'd get them out there, so I wanted to play a little bit of this, cut number 4.
That's that the border is very quiet, and he was just in the tank doing mechanical stuff, and nothing special. But as we all know, it was wrong.
It's the older brother of the girl sitting to the right of him. She's a young girl.
It was the last time we heard him by voice, and we saw his face. And about 3 weeks after the October 7th, the IDF authorities told us that child was kidnapped. So just for your knowledge, that we as a family,
we can get out of that.
about 3 weeks,
The
we
audio is
didn't know
not so
anything
great
about
on it, but it was very moving. I also have cut number 5, this gentleman who couldn't speak English well, 2 brothers taken hostage. 2 brothers. These people had whole families kidnapped. A lot of action going on in Beirut, in Lebanon today. More missile attacks, more fighter jets scrambling into Lebanon. Things are really heating up over there. Just want to play a part of cut number 5, 2 brothers taken hostage.
I'm Amos. My 2 brothers, Yair and Eldan, were
that's his
kidnapped
daughter
from
on the left.
kibbutz Miroz. We make Aliyah from Argentina. It's sad for us they was kidnapped. We are not Amhovshi, and we need to.
He was so choked up before he started to speak, he had to move to the next person. He couldn't get the words out. So our heart goes out to these families. We can get out of that one as well. I just want to play, this is what you get, cut number 7 with the pro-choice generation at our demonstrations, this is what you're up against, cut number 7.
I love killing babies. I love it.
Jesus will. We have to give her the word.
I've had like 45 abortions and I'm going to keep having them.
You need our God. We are God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
Brilliance.
that's what we're up against. I'll have more for you if we have time later.
All right, very good, David Zier. Let's do a little more news. Actually, let's do, what is it? Let's do sports here, and then we'll do news. Quickly, Slick, give me a quick sports report here, and then we'll do a little news before the president.
All right.
What's going on?
Well, let's get a little rodeo, Big D. Let's go to Window Rock, Arizona. Dean C. Jackson Memorial wrapped up over the weekend, home of the Navajo PRCA Rodeo. Just want to get another one in there. We got all-around cowboy was Trevor Hale, 1582 for tie-down roping, team roping, and steer roping. Bareback, Keenan Hayes, 87 points on the Survey Brothers Moon Dancer, 3,700. Steer wrestling, Kyle Calloway, 4.5 seconds, 23:57. Team roping, Hagen Peterson and Chase Tryon, 4.5 seconds. Saddle bronc, we had Statler Wright, 90 points on the Survey Brothers R. Watson's Ed Bishop. Tie down roping, we had a tie, Cash Hooper and Zach Youngblood, 7.7 seconds. Barrel racing, Halen Hyde, 15.68. And steer roping, Clay Long, 9.2. And bull riding, we had Brady Turgeon, 85.5 points on Empire Rodeos. Rick, you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Hammer Lane.
Nice.
There you go. Big fight down there next week, Friday night. And all right.
got that.
Well, we got this Caitlin Clark. Boy, they're really talking about her, huh, Big D? You heard about all this about her being targeted, and they're starting to say they really did some kind of conspiracy going on with her. But let's see, legendary coach Gino Orima on Caitlin Clark. She's being targeted. This is Breitbart Sports. Gino Orima, the legendary coach of UConn's women's basketball, said that WNBA rookie superstar Caitlin Clark is being targeted by our enemies in the league. Since her ascendancy into the WNBA, becoming a household name overnight, rookie Caitlin Clark of the Indiana Fever has been subject to brutal hazing by players from within the league and commentators from without. Gino Orimiema said that Clark is now experiencing the growing pains of professional basketball and being targeted. Every rookie has to go through the growing pains of being a professional basketball player, and the more attention you get in today's world, attention is number one, and attention brings money. So is she facing the rookie challenge, the rookie hardships that are inherent with being a rookie? Yes, she's also being targeted, Oriyama said. While Oriyama does believe that the certain star players experience a particular hazing, he also admitted that Clark has been experiencing something unprecedented and likely stems from jealousy. I don't remember when Michael Jordan came into the league, guys looking to go out and beat him up. He said, I don't remember when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came into the league and elevated the NBA. I don't remember when them getting targeted and getting beat up just because of who they were and the attention they were getting. And I've never heard of them say, hey, why didn't you do this and when we were playing? Because nobody felt like it. It wasn't the time. So Orimiema said, appreciate the fact that now's the time. I get it. It's long overdue. Why are you blaming that kid? It's not our fault because you would trade places with her in a minute, but you are not there. So you are not her. So you are complaining that she's getting what she's getting. Like you said last night, Big D, she's giving them chartered flights in the NBA. She's selling out venues. NBA is one of the top things now on ESPN, reporting on not just her games, but other games. So much attention has been shed on her, kind of like the way Michael Jordan brought the NBA back, because they weren't floundering to the level of the WNBA, but the league did escalate when Jordan came in, along with Bird and Magic. Of course, that was the first step, and then when Jordan came in, the league was on fire. Was the top sport at one point. So I think that's the same case with her. That's why she's being targeted. I really do.
I mean, it's not even debatable. It's not even close. I mean, for this other girl, whatever her name is, to say, oh, yeah, they're watching it because of me, too. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yeah, no.
They're not watching it because of you. If you were the only one who went into the league this year as the number one pick, nobody would care.
No.
You'd have tens of people watching still.
Right. It's not Angel Reese. That's what you're thinking of.
That's
right?
the word. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. I mean, she's delusional.
Totally.
I don't care. She's delusional.
Totally.
It says all jealousy. Plain and simple, nothing more complicated than that. She brings everything. She brings the ratings. She brings the eyeballs. She brings the money. She brings she brings everything. They bring nothing.
Yep.
Because we have a proven track record of this league losing money and having tens of viewers for years. They had a championship parade once for I forget what team it was. It looked like it was just a regular day of traffic as the bus was going down, waving to nobody. There was nobody there.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Yep.
Nobody cares.
And now she's the underdog because the Fever isn't doing too well. And you know what? You know what they say about underdogs? People love a good underdog, and I think she's gonna be a great one.
Yeah, they only care because she's there and she's fantastic. So,
and that's a wrap.
All right, so, Fran, what are we're going to blow the brakes here and we're just going to go straight on here. We're waiting for the president. What'd you say? 5 minutes out?
Okay.
So he's going to talk at 9. All right. So we're going to have to try to do something with Josh again. Rick, why don't you do some news?
All right. Well, I don't know if you guys saw, but Maxine Waters is back. Yes, Maxine Waters. You know Maxine. Crazy Maxine Waters out of California. She went on to MSNBC, and she's been kind of doing this. She did it last month. She's doing it again now. It's all about the craziness, the violence that's coming from Trump and his supporters. This is cut number 10. Here's Maxine Waters telling MSNBC that we're all domestic terrorists.
I am going to spend some time with the criminal justice system, with the justice system, asking them, tell us what's going on with the domestic terrorists. Are they preparing a civil war against us? Should we be concerned about our safety? What is he doing with this divisive language? It is dangerous, and we're going to have to make sure that we understand that we're not at risk with this man talking in the way that he's doing.
Yes, because, let's face it, it sounds, I don't know about you guys, but it sounds to me like this could be more politically targeted, I don't know, law enforcement, huh?
It's projection.
Yeah. It's definitely projection, but she's actively talking about she's going to sit with the FBI so they can target people based on their political affiliation and what they believe and who they support. You might remember she said this last month because, of course, it's all these right wingers that are training in the hills and putting on a dark face to make sure that they can't be seen in the woods. Cut number 11. Here's when she again on MSNBC warning about the Trump supporters doing their training.
I'm going to ask the Justice Department and I'm going to ask the president to tell us what they're going to do to protect this country against violence if he loses. I want to know about all of those right-wing organizations that he's connected with who are training up in the hills somewhere and targeting, what communities they're going to attack.
Yeah, training up in the hills. Because it's all about, and you said it, David. It's about projection. They know what they've got coming with Antifa and all their makeshift gangs that they put together that they have to dispatch once they lose the election. But they need to make sure that they're dressed properly. Wearing their MAGA hats and stuff.
We haven't seen anything yet. I think it's going to be a rough summer and fall. I don't think we've seen anything. They're coming after us.
Yep, big time.
Oh yeah,
big time.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Hey, Fran, let's get Josh up and on so we can talk to him while we wait for the president. While these guys are doing news, he's waiting for us. So let's get him on, and then we'll just wait on the president. So. Go ahead, Delgado. Sorry about that.
All right, and I don't know. We were talking about Joe Biden, of course. Well, we were just talking about the weaponization that they're doing, and Maxine Waters is projecting again. But did you catch this story? This is probably the biggest story coming out of the Wall Street Journal. Behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping.
Oh, what?
Oh, wow. Wait a minute. Is that breaking?
Wait a second.
That's breaking news.
Who wrote this? Wall Street Journal?
Wall Street Journal.
I referenced it last night as we were getting off the air.
Fake news.
Biden shows signs of slipping?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Can't be.
True international depression?
According to this, when President Biden met with congressional leaders in the West Wing in January to negotiate a Ukraine funding deal, he spoke so softly at times that some participants struggled to hear him. We've seen this, actually. We've seen it from him a lot. According to 5 people familiar with the meeting, he read from notes to make obvious points because he couldn't remember anything, paused for extended periods, and sometimes closed his eyes for so long that some people in the room wondered if he had fallen asleep.
Sir. All right, Delgado, hold that. We'll get right back to it. Please welcome now, Josh Hammer is the Newsweek senior editor at large. He's the host of the Josh Hammer Show. And he's a syndicated columnist, senior counsel for the Article 3 project, and he's been nice enough to deal with us moving his schedule around all night because of the president. But please welcome to live from Studio 6B right now, Josh Hammer. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me.
I don't know if you've heard, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that President Biden may be showing signs of slipping. I know you must be shocked as the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, who in the world could have possibly seen that coming, right? I mean, I'm not sure if it was when he was literally falling over the stage in Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy graduation last year, when they had to devise these new shoes for him, like the special cushy things that you won't trip over them. I mean, I'm not sure what gave it away, but I'm glad that the Wall Street Journal is now paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to ask you about some news that happened today. I was going to start somewhere else, but then I saw this today, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. News out of Georgia, the appellate division there, the appellate court suspended the Georgia case against Trump until obviously it considers the disqualification appeal on October 4th, meaning basically this thing is off the calendar till after the election. I don't know why when I heard this, I just was imagining phone calls ringing up in New York, kind of like Newt Gingrich told us he heard down in Georgia when they said, hey, we need an indictment out of you guys tomorrow. And Fannie Willis said, well, we're not even going to be back till tomorrow. And they said, well, no, you don't understand. We need it tomorrow. I got a feeling that New York was getting phone calls saying, hey, you guys this is it now. You got the conviction. This sentencing this is it. We got to get rid of this guy for the rest of this election season. This is it. Why am I so cynical to think that was happening today?
No, you're obviously not cynical. Look, I mean, it was fairly obvious, I would say as far back as 2 months ago or so. It was fairly obvious that the New York case was the only case where they had a real shot at getting to a jury prior to November. So this case in Washington, D.C., we're awaiting the U.S. Supreme Court to rule later this month when it comes to Trump versus the United States. That's the ruling on the scope, the breadth, the depth of presidential immunity. That's not going to be the end of that. They're going to have to kick that back down to the trial court. Long story short, Jack Smith will be very, very lucky if he can somehow get a trial start date before November in Washington, D.C. I think it's unlikely. In Florida, in that case, there's just a lot of pretrial motions that are taking a lot of time to sift through there, classified documents. How do you balance due process rights, national security? So Judge Aileen Cannon is being very prudent in slow walking this case. So that case is also unlikely to make it to trial. And then in Georgia, as soon as you had the whole Nathan Wade, Fonnie Willis romance that came to surface, that started to get derailed as well. And then definitely when the Georgia Court of Appeals granted their certificate of review to first hear Trump's appeal as to whether or not Fonnie can stand the case, it was basically game over there as well. So this news today is something of a formality. It is not necessarily kind of shocking to those of us who pay close attention to these trials. That case in Georgia was already going to be sidelined for a very long time. Then we recently heard a few days ago that it's going to be October 4th. Now they're saying the trial court can't do anything. So that's great. But what that means is that the Democrat lawfare complex, as I call it, is putting literally all of their eggs in the basket of New York State. That should have been obvious to a lot of us a while ago. It is definitely obvious to all of us now because they have stopped at literally nothing, crawled over every shard of glass imaginable in the world to get their man. And Alvin Bragg, in true Stalinist, show me the man, I will show you the crime fashion, they have got their man, albeit it is the 45th president of the United States.
Yeah, when you wrote about this in Newsweek back on May 17th, you kind of laid out the case and basically saying prosecution's about the rest of this case, and we don't even know for sure what the actual black letter legal case is. Yeah. So as we sit here tonight, we're going to have no jury forms on this verdict. Do we have any idea what that other crime was, supposedly, that took this from a misdemeanor where the statute of limitations had run to Alvin Bragg doing copy-paste 34 times to turn this into a felony? Do we even know what the other crime is, even as we sit here tonight?
Yes, kind of, is the best way I can answer that question. So, it's crazy, right? So I'm a lawyer by background. I'm still barred in Texas. I live in Florida. I speak at law schools all the time across the country, actually. I've still published some legal scholarship here and there. And I host 2 shows, one of which, America on Trial, is literally a daily legal lawfare show where I cover the trials every single day. And I literally did not know what the prosecution's theory of the case was. I don't think the world knew what their actual theory of the case was until we actually received the jury instructions last week. That was literally the first time that we actually saw their theory played out. Yeah. So if I understand it correctly, here's what it is. So you have those 34 underlying New York State fraudulent bookkeeping misdemeanor charges. Those are misdemeanors against the Trump organization and Trump, by extension, as an individual. But then they say that it was done in furtherance of a New York State campaign finance law violation in the first degree. And then you look at what New York State, how they define what a New York State campaign finance law in the first degree violation is. And that's when they say that it is a conspiracy to then commit campaign finance fraud via unlawful means. So the unlawful means then is the third hole down this ever-extending rabbit hole. We went from fraudulent bookkeeping to New York State campaign finance law, then to the unlawful means. And it is that third part, the unlawful means, where Judge Merchan infamously said the jury could essentially split 4-4-4 among the 12 of them as to what the unlawful means were. They spat out three possible theories for us. One is that the unlawful means were a federal campaign finance law violation, which, by the way, the prosecutor does not even have jurisdiction to bring that. He's a local prosecutor. Then the two other crimes, which are state crimes, is a tax law violation. Personally, I'm not even sure how that actually works. I'm not really entirely sure what the actual tax law violation even is here. And then the third possible unlawful means was an additional fraudulent bookkeeping charge. So it's kind of circular logic there. So look, the whole thing is ludicrous. I mean, there are numerous glaring constitutional problems here. There's a due process clause problem. There's a glaring Sixth Amendment problem as well when it comes to Donald Trump as a criminal defendant. This thing's ultimately going to get vindicated at some form or some stage, but for now, it is obviously a travesty, the likes of which I've never seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, and I want to ask you what you think is going to happen in sentencing, and I also want to ask you about Mark Levin's ideas about the Supreme Court, because I know you have some thoughts on that I heard you speak about that I hadn't really thought of. But let me ask you just two broader questions, or maybe one long, broader question, is what we're seeing in President. Now, obviously, his situation being a former president, I get we've never seen. But what we're seeing with him, generally speaking, is that the exception, or is it merely an expansion and enlargement of the corruption and failures that are happening all over this country in the legal system, number one? And number two, is it becoming harder for the idea of getting a jury of your peers? And the reason I ask you that is because Daniel Horowitz wrote in The Blaze recently that red states better start making red states as red as blue states are blue. And one of the things he talked about was saying states need to make it easier for defendants prosecuted in blue cities to assert political bias among jurors. One way might be to expand the jury pool to rope in more conservative jurisdictions so that defendants would get a more equitable selection. Give me your thoughts on all of that in general.
Yeah, so Daniel, as usual, is thinking very clearly. I went on Daniel's show actually on Friday, the day after the verdict. I've known Daniel for probably close to a decade at this point. He and I are very like mind on the overwhelming majority of all things legal and judiciary related. He's always thinking of clever solutions there. You know, I never would have thought of that particular policy remedy when it comes to expanding the jury pool, but you know, it does make a lot of sense. We live in a day and age here where America's urban centers are utterly dominated by far left actors, by Soros-funded prosecutors there. So something like extending the jury pool, if it can be written in clear form in a statute, and you know some lawyer can probably figure out how to do that and make it sound all pretty, strikes me as a good idea. Now, on the Mark Levin proposal, when it comes to trying to expedite this to the Supreme Court, look, I have a ton of respect for Mark Levin, and intuitively, I like where he's coming from. You know, this is a case of obvious great national importance. It makes a lot of intuitive sense that the U.S. Supreme Court should step in here, similar to the way they did in Bush versus Gore. There are at least two things that give me cause for concern, though. One is that it's kind of just black letter Supreme Court procedural law that they will not review a state criminal case until the highest court in that particular state has issued a final judgment. That's just the law. Now, you know, we can try to figure out a way to somehow get around that law, but it's probably not going to happen. Even in Bush versus Gore, which is not a criminal case, it was a civil case, but that ultimately got appealed from the Supreme Court of Florida. So the highest court in Florida had to reach a ruling. I think the New York Court of Appeals in New York State probably is going to have to reach a ruling as well. The second and slightly more philosophical reason why I'm not sure that it's actually a good idea to try to fast track this thing to the U.S. Supreme Court is essentially as follows. If you do that, you're basically putting all of your faith in the basket of John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Now, you know, maybe you're the kind of person who is like a perpetual optimist and you just have total abiding faith that the swing justices will always do the right thing. I am not one of them. I have been a pessimist on all things judicial branch related since before I even started law school over a decade ago. And if you go ahead and do that, if you expedite it to the U.S. Supreme Court, you're not really going to have a clear, clean path to then go back to Albany, the state capital of New York, and then go begging before the New York Court of Appeals. So I rather that Trump's lawyers skip the appellate division, which is the intermediate court of appeals in New York State, and try to go straight to the New York Court of Appeals, which is the highest court in the state of New York. And look, is it a conservative tribunal? No, obviously not. But The New York Court of Appeals, unlike the lower two rungs of courts in New York State, are not elected judges. They're advice and consent, similar to federal judges, so they don't necessarily have that direct kind of electoral accountability like you would have if you were running for office in Manhattan, like Juan Merchan is. And then on the other hand, as a New York native myself, recall that New York is not at least it used to not be a banana republic. I mean, this was the commercial, financial, cultural center of the Western world on a certain level here. And you have to have at least some hope, at a bare minimum, a similar level of confidence that you would have in John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, that these folks might do the right thing.
Yeah. So let me ask you the big question, obviously, and I've heard you speak on this before, but I'd like to know where your thoughts are today. What do you think happens on July 11th at sentencing?
So I am conflicted. I mean, on the one hand, these people are ruthless savages. They will stop at absolutely nothing whatsoever. I mean, people talk about crossing the Rubicon. They've crossed, 1,000, 25,000 Rubicons already. I mean, when the Obama administration prosecuted nuns, sued the Little Sisters of the Poor because they refused to subsidize abortifacients, that was kind of a Rubicon crossing. The whole Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearing in September 2018, when they threw out 4,000 to 5,000 years of civilizational norms pertaining to innocent until proven guilty, that was a Rubicon crossing. The Black Lives Matter and Antifa rise in 2020, Rubicon. So I could go on and on and on here. The point is, at this point, I have no doubt whatsoever that they desperately want to throw Donald Trump in jail. The only reason they might literally not be able to do so is because, it's fairly obvious. He's a former president of the United States. And what that means is that he has 24/7 mandated by federal law armed Secret Service protection. If you're looking at the New York City prisons, and I pause here because it is just insane that we're having this conversation. But if you look at the New York City prisons, Rikers Island, prisons like that, you can't get a gun near a prisoner. You're not going to be able to get an armed security folk there. You can't get a gun probably within hundreds of yards of where the actual prison cells are, maybe obviously for the guards themselves. So, maybe they could create a whole new ward of the prison that's just for prisoner Donald J. Trump, and then the Secret Service somehow gets in there. Look, where there's a will, there's a way for people like this. But I nonetheless think that there is a real possibility that the Secret Service protection angle of this might take that off the table and result in house arrest, home confinement. But again, I would never put it past these people to try to figure out some ridiculous excuse to try to get him armed protection in Rikers Island. And I have no doubt that is what Alvin Bragg and Juan Merchan want deep down in their very callous heart of hearts. Yeah, Mike Huckabee today I haven't read it yet, but he made some kind of put out some kind of an article saying that he predicted Secret Service would file a court motion to keep Trump from going to jail as well. We're speaking with Josh Hammer here. He's the senior editor-at-large at Newsweek, and I want to thank you so much for being flexible to join us tonight. We're waiting on the president from Mar-a-Lago to make a speech. We'll take that live when he does. I have just one more thing for you, Josh, and it's I got three guys here on the show with me, and we've been debating, and you wrote a piece over at Newsweek, which I actually read here on the show, entitled "Democrats Are Stuck with Joe Biden as Their Presidential Nominee." I have a little friendly wager going with these guys. All three of them believe he will not be. John Solomon and I are Team Solomon and myself on that he will be. I think you're on our team, if I'm not mistaken. Why are you on our team? I am, and I've been saying this for over a year now, actually. So in my circles as well, our group chats, we've been debating this for a very long time now. Look, my basic argument, which I laid out in the column that you graciously referred to, my argument is basically this. If it's not Biden, then the obvious choice by definition is the vice president, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is the only politician in the world who is currently less popular than Joe Biden. Kamala Harris could literally go on national TV and say puppies are cute, and the American people would hate it because it's coming from her mouth, the cackler in chief. She is awful, terrible. She's just terrible. She is truly abysmal at the game of politics. It is astounding that she has actually gotten this far. So they're basically not going to do that. Then the problem is, who else could it possibly be? Well, Gavin Newsom's the obvious choice, right? But in today's Democratic Party, you're looking at a political party that chose Ketanji Brown Jackson as the Supreme Court justice in 2022 for the sole and exclusive reason that she was a black woman. That was it. They literally limited that search to replace Stephen Breyer on the Supreme Court to 2% of the American lawyer pool. That 2% are simply black women. They announced that they were doing it, and they did it. So you're going to tell me that party is the one who's going to pass on the first black vice president. She's kind of sort of black. I mean, she has a weird mixed background. But hold that aside. Yeah. You're gonna pass on the first black vice president to then go to Gavin Newsom, the guy with the slick back hair who looks like a superhero villain.
Well, they all think they all think they're going to Michelle.
Big Mike.
Okay, so she if we want to go there. I mean, she's like the one person who, based on what I just said, maybe has a chance. Here's the thing. I actually don't think the Obamas want that because they're basically running the show from my perspective today as it is. We all saw that photo of Barack Obama at 10 Downing Street meeting with the Prime Minister of Britain a few months ago. I think Barack Obama is essentially the shadow president right now. So why would you want to put yourselves publicly out there again, whereas you're getting essentially all the benefits without any of the costs by doing it privately?
Yeah. Great stuff, Josh. Again, Josh is at Newsweek, Senior Editor at Large. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it, Josh_Hammer. Instagram is at Josh B. Hammer. And then I host my two shows, The Josh Hammer Show and America on Trial with Josh Hammer. And I write a weekly syndicated column as well.
I so appreciate you being flexible tonight and joining us on short notice. And hopefully we can have you back.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
All right, Josh Hammer here, live from Studio 6B. Check him out. Great stuff at Newsweek. Great. Well, I've brought it to you a lot of it here on the show. And, of course, he's on my team here, so on Biden. So you three, it's just a bad night to be you three here on this show.
I don't think he's really on your team. Even he said, Big Mike, he admits that Obama's running things from behind.
Well, I didn't disagree with that.
So,
Damon, I was so honored. I worked alongside Mike Davis from Article 3 Project outside the trial, and being inside the trial, I watched the judge, that's why I was so negative like 2 weeks ago, weave in the 17-152 second crime into the jury because they didn't even know what the hell was going on. And he wove it in there subtly. And all of a sudden there's a second crime that they wanted to go after him on. But I was curious how Josh thinks, even if they don't put Trump in jail and they give him some type of home confinement or something like that, what does he think, that's going to, is that going to propel, Trump's getting $500,000 a plate in San Francisco this week at a fundraiser now. The numbers are extraordinary. So
that's just for In-N-Out.
Yeah.
That's because it's very expensive out in California.
It is. But
there's a lot of scenarios. Do they split the baby and kind of do the weekend home confinement thing, or do they or after today, knowing that they've got no other bullets in the chamber here, do they still shoot for the moon and try to go for at least some time in at Rikers?
Well, the problem with that, and he mentioned it about the Secret Service. I've heard Dan Bongino talk about it. The Secret Service, when they come into an area, even if it's a restaurant or a hotel or whatever. As soon as they say, yeah, we're going to be here, they commandeer it. It's now a federally protected area. So they make the rules. That's what happens with the Secret Service. They have that power. So this idea that, we're just going to put him in Rikers. If the Secret Service decides to take over Rikers, they take over Rikers. They decide what's going on. So I don't think the powers that be of New York State's justice system has kind of thought that
and there's
that
only
far ahead.
6,000 to 8,000 inmates there. There were 33,000, I think, at one point. So there's a lot of room there to ward off.
They're all back on the streets now, killing people.
But there's only one land. There's only one land route in and off the island, so that could be a problem too.
All right, we're waiting on the president. We think about 5-10 minutes till President Trump will take whatever it is, a stage or a table or a chair or something, and we'll get to that. But Mike Huckabee, as I was just saying to Josh, he predicted the Secret Service would file court motions to keep Trump from going to jail. He said, in fact, if you look at the law, kind of what you were just saying, Delgado, about what the Secret Service obligations are, it would prohibit Judge Merchan, no matter how much he wants to put Donald Trump in incarceration, Huckabee said. He predicted Wednesday the Secret Service will file a court motion if President Trump is sentenced to jail. If they're foolish enough to push this and actually try to incarcerate the president, which I'm not sure, how do you do that when he's under Secret Service protection? Do they go with him, Huckabee asked on the Just the News No Noise TV show? I think it would probably file some court motion and say we cannot guarantee the ability to protect the former president as we are required by law to do so If you put him in Rikers Island, you're not going to do that, he continued. So Huckabee making the case that the obligations of the Secret Service would not allow a judge to do that. I don't think the judge is going to care.
He's going to try. I think they're going to try something. They need to They basically need to get him off the campaign trail. But even that, right? That they had him off the campaign trail for 5 weeks for this stupid no nonsense.
He still wove it in,
and he still increased his numbers. He still got his message out. There was not. They might as well just keep, stepping on that rake and hitting themselves in the face, because everything they try is a boomerang, comes right back, smacks them in the face. They don't get it. They don't understand that he's doing them to them so well that they can't understand.
He keeps pulling it out of a hat. I covered 6 rallies while he was on trial. And then you had the bodega, the construction worker visit, the fire department visit. There were 9 major events that he was able to still pull off.
Right. Not only that, he cemented himself back in New York. And I think that's something that they didn't even think about that. They just had ideas of, oh, this is going to be glorious. We're going to have him on trial. It'll be the greatest thing we've ever done. And all of a sudden, he flips the script on them. Why? Yeah. Because people like him more than they like them.
He can have a rally with the prisoners.
Yeah, he would probably have some people trying to break into prison, trying to get to the rally. That's how crazy it is.
Trump House Rock.
Right.
Yeah.
Rock.
Slick, let's do some quick sports while we can before the president comes on, because we don't know how long the president's going to take once he starts. Again, Trump tonight has welcoming students and influential alumni from some of the historically black colleges and universities for a special dinner and conversation. And as we talked about, Trump obviously making overtures, knowing how important young black voices are going to be, young black votes are going to be for him. Obviously, for him to continue what he did in 2020, he's obviously made the case, and it's all pretty clear that every voting bloc, every demographic group was doing better under Trump than they are in the last 3.5 years. That's why I think the president's message of "Are you better off now than where you were 4 years ago?" is something that can work to every demographic in every state, to every voter, no matter where you go. If they're answering honestly, the answer has to be no, it's not. Was way better off under the Trump administration, and I'd like a return to that. So we'll take the president when he starts, but right now let's do a little sports with Slick Rick. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell and our code LFS6B at checkout. Slick, what's going on?
All right, well, the French Open's what's going on right now, Big D, in Paris, and Alexander Zverev beat Alex de Minaur 6-4, 7-6, 6-4 on Wednesday night to reach the French Open semifinals for the 4th year in a row. Zverev extended his current winning streak to 11 matches, including a title on the clay at the Italian Open just last month, and his victory over the 11th seeded de Minaur at Philippe Chatrier moves him into the matchup against 2-time Roland Garros winner, runner-up at Casper Ruud on Friday. So Roland Garros had a walkover because obviously Djokovic is out because of his injury. He's not going to be obviously going to be in the finals. He had a shoulder injury, so Djokovic will not be playing in the French Open at all. So we'll keep you tracked on that. And Coco Gauff also reaches French Open semifinals, but in the doubles match as well. So we'll keep an eye on tennis. I'll have a full report for you tomorrow night when we get a handle on everybody going into the final weekend here of that Open, and pretty good stuff there. I'll get to a couple of quick scores on the scoreboard for you. Baseball, Major League Baseball, Pirates 10-6 over the Dodgers, top of the 9th in Pittsburgh. Yankees taking on the Twins 9-4 at the end of 7 in the Bronx. Blue Jays and Orioles tied at 2. That's in the bottom of the 8th. Middle of the 5th, the White Sox over the Cubs 5-1. Rangers continue to blank the Tigers 4-0. End of 4. I gave you the finals from earlier tonight. Coming up at 9:38 will be the Padres visiting the Angels, and the Mariners in Oakland to take on the A's as well. And we'll see what else we got. Let's see. Well, what about that UFC fight? A little follow-up from that over the weekend. Dustin Poirier broke nose, rib, and tore his ACL versus Islam Makhachev. So he had a rough night, Big D.
I think my words the day before that, when you brought it up, was that he was going to have a rough night. Did I not say that?
You did. We had somebody in the chat. I think S. Tukey was a big follower in the Get It chat. Great UFC fan. Always reminded me about the bouts. And sure enough, he said Dustin Poirier, he thought was going to win in an upset. So did not happen. But he had a hell of a rough night. A little arrest today in NASCAR, Big D. I got to get to that one too. There was and somebody in the chat. I think it was who was it in the chat? Mrs. Smith, I believe. Mrs. Sam Hill, rather. Excuse me, calling a rough one there. But retired NASCAR driver and son arrested for alleged assaults on police during January 6th riot. This is Tej Scott and his son Jared Scott faced 2 felony offenses each. This is Alex Mallon of ABC. It's probably a liberal report, but I had just pulled this. A retired NASCAR driver and his son were arrested Wednesday and charged along with 2 other Pennsylvania men for allegedly assaulting police during January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, according to the U.S. District Attorney's Office. Tej Scott, 75, and his son Jared Scott, 48, faced 2 felony offenses each, as well as multiple misdemeanor offenses for a series of alleged assaults prosecutors say they engaged in outside the Capitol among the pro-Trump mob. Yeah, so it's definitely one of those ABC News ones. But charging documents show the FBI confirmed T. Scott identity in part because a witness told agents he was a retired NASCAR driver. Scott competed in dirt racing events before moving into the NASCAR Winston Cup Series in the late 1970s and early 1980s. While he recorded no career wins in NASCAR, he had multiple top 10 finishes and made several appearances at the Daytona 500, including a 6th-place finish in 1979. The 2 Scotts were arrested, along with another Pennsylvania father and son, Scott Alex Slater Jr. and Scott Slater Sr., all of whom prosecutors say physically and verbally harassed law enforcement trying to protect the Capitol using a variety of objects like flagpoles, golf clubs, and an area closed sign to throw or strike against a line of police trying to control the mob. So we don't know. Obviously, that's got to play out in court, and who knows what was there and what happened. There's a lot of craziness. We know that. We've talked about this ad nauseum. But yeah, that's something. Sports is in the Capitol arrest.
All right, let's take a break while we can. We're still waiting for President Trump. Let's take this break. If the president comes on, we'll break back in. But if not, we'll be back right after this with, I think, the president probably in the next segment here. Live from Studio 6B. We're back right after this.
Yeah, that Yankee lineup, the first 2-3 guys, the first 2. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton even has like 15 home runs, but he's hitting 230 again. He always hits 230. Sucks.
Stanton, yeah.
What a waste.
I'll take him. I'll take him.
Yeah, but he hasn't really performed, right? So, but even Volpe's doing good too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the pitching that's surprised me.
Yeah.
Because when Garrett Cole went down, I was like, this is going to be a fucking problem.
I love Garrett Cole.
I'm so glad that they did not go after Blake Snell.
I watched him pitch a shutout last year.
We may have to cut back in here if Trump comes out. Okay, they're going to pull us out of break?
Yeah. Yeah,
it looks like. All right, looks like the president's going to come back out.
All right.
Are we back on?
And we're back.
Come on.
Are we back on, Fran? All right.
3, 2.
All right, we're back live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night. We believe the president is going to come out and speak here, so we wanted to cut back in so we don't miss any of the president. Again, speaking tonight to an audience that he knows is going to be extremely, extremely important, obviously, as we get into the election season. And again, this, if you remember, Michaela Montgomery, a conservative activist and founder of Conserve the Culture, which coordinates events in Atlanta's historically black colleges and university students who are open to conservative ideas. She's the young lady who I believe hugged President Trump at that Chick-fil-A, if you remember.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that night. So she's going to be at this dinner.
Oh, nice.
And obviously influential alumni from historically black colleges are going to be there. And President Trump, as we've talked about all show, understands the continued overtures he makes And just really, I mean, it's not even that he has to do that. I mean, as one after another of people who you hear interviewed, kids on the street, mothers, fathers, parents of all colors, creeds, religions, all say the same thing. Whether it's celebrities or whether it's just regular people, our lives were better off under the Trump administration. They have been a disaster in the last 3.5 years. I am paying too much at the pump. I am paying too much at the grocery store. I am paying too much to heat my house. Yep. I am paying too much for my mortgage. Mm-hmm. My rent keeps going up. My car insurance keeps going up. Inflation keeps going up. My purchasing power keeps going down. Enough is enough. Upward mobility in this country has been stepped on by this president and by this administration, by these policies. Everybody looks at what he's doing at the border, and they know that this is just an absolute joke of an executive order. He's ordered 90. He's had 90 executive orders that have dismantled the border over 3.5 years, and we're supposed to believe now that this one is going to save everything.
Right.
So again,
and you know, if I might have been meaning to mention this, reaching out into those communities and into, you know, the black community and the Latin community and stuff. Also remember, Ice Cube came to the president in 2020, and he went both to the Biden campaign and the Trump administration at the time, and Trump was the only one that would actually meet with the guy.
Yeah.
And actually used part of some of his ass in putting together a proposal moving forward. Yeah. So I think you've got that also probably still as a relationship. Because
what are they? Just continued historical levels of disenfranchisement to the black community from the Democrat Party. President Trump recognizes that. That's what originally he came up with. What do you have to lose? Wasn't he targeting the African American community when he said that?
Yeah.
What do you have to lose? That's how it started.
Yeah.
And now it's moved on to things like the and you don't have to agree with all of it. The Platinum Plan and some of the stuff he's done on, obviously, what was it? The getting out of jail, the laws,
prison reform.
Yeah, the reform bills that were passed.
First step back.
Thank you. The first step back. God, got my mind like Biden. And so the president continues to make overtures and understands, again, how important this voting block is going to be. So we wait for the president to come out and make his remarks tonight. We'll see what he has to say. Go ahead.
No, go on.
In other news, while we're waiting for the president, there's some other news about the president that's, take it for a grain of salt, but it's out there tonight. It's being reported. I don't know that this came out from their camp, but supposedly they have sent VP vetting paperwork, out to the following. Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Florida Representative Byron Donalds, New York Representative Elise Stefanik, and former HHS Secretary and, of course, Dr. Ben Carson. That supposedly is now the short list for VP. Now, I don't know if this is real, if this is just maybe a distraction list with a couple that he's really considering, and he's got some other people that no one's thinking about or no one knows that don't come from government. I never put it past President Trump to come with someone from the business world, someone maybe that's not from that we would know, but this is the list that's out there. And I can't say I'm jumping. I can't say I'm jumping up for joy on any of them. But J.D. Vance, I think, would be
Vance, Donalds, and Carson. Right?
My top two would be Vance and Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds is my number one, actually. I've been saying him since last year.
He's fire.
I mean, I don't know if Doug Burgum is on the list because someone's trying to be nice or because he's giving a lot of time to come to events and they feel bad. But please
and doesn't
tell
he
me
have a
that
lot of money too?
Please tell me he's not on the list because they seriously think
he's been a fierce surrogate for Trump for many months during the primaries.
Okay,
so I don't think he's a real contender, but he has been very loyal.
Okay, because if Doug Burgum is on the list for real, then policy is not factoring in. Well, and you could say that about a couple others on the list.
Except fossil fuels.
Is not factoring in any way because he is a disaster.
Now, where is he from again?
North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Their shale changed the dynamic and our energy for this country in North Dakota. So maybe that's where Trump is looking and what he's looking at, maybe, Damon?
I don't know.
The energy output from there has been...
The first place I go on any of these is go over to conservative, go look at their Liberty score, whether it's you do it at Conservative Review or other places that do these, Heritage or other places. And I don't know. I honestly don't know where Rubio comes in. He's probably like a B, if I had to guess. J.D. Vance is fairly new, so I don't know what the history there is. Tim Scott, I got to imagine, is a C or a D. Burgum is an F-.
Scott's like a B and like the turning point.
Stefanik's probably an F as well. I don't really know I don't get I mean, she's had a couple good hearings where she's been tough on some things.
And I think she's come out on certain things that, kind of caught people the right way and kind of elevated her profile. So, you know what? I could see why he'd throw her a bone, so to speak, but I don't see her as a finalist.
She only voted with Trump 74% of the time while she was Congresswoman, while he was president. And actually, Liz Cheney had a 90% with Trump, believe it or not, even though she's gone the other way.
Well, what we can hope for is that maybe this is a list, but not maybe the list.
This is the first culling.
And maybe the A in the lead coming to the clubhouse person is not on here, and maybe somebody we don't know.
Burgum's got a 91 percentile in the Turning Point Action scorecard as far as North Dakota being a free state and other positions, big tech, American culture, border security, election integrity, medical freedom, school choice, Second Amendment, and taxes.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat that none of that is correct because we watched him through COVID. I mean, what are they talking about?
Well, on taxes, he only gets a 70. On border security, election integrity, and medical freedom, he said they give him a 100% rating, Turning Point.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't take that seriously.
Mm-hmm. Just saying I'm just repeating what they're saying.
Yeah. No, I get it, but I mean, come on. Actually, I'm looking at Liberty scores now, and I guess they don't have governors. They only have got all chambers, House and Senate, so we don't have a governor list.
So do you have a Byron Donalds score then? You should be able
Donalds is up there in the 90s probably.
Yeah, we'll check it. All right, while we wait for the president, we'll continue to let's do some more news, Delgado, since we haven't done much this show. We've been jumping around. We've been busy, so let's do some now while we wait for President Trump. What else is going on?
All right. Well, let me find the story. I don't know if you guys heard about the congestion pricing in New York City that was supposed to go live today, as a matter of fact. Well, it's not happening, as a matter of fact. According to the governor, she has now decided to put that on hold indefinitely. With the congestion pricing, I don't know. Do you think it could have something to do with political numbers and things going on in New York City where things are so expensive?
Can't imagine
that nobody can afford anything.
I mean, that's like saying Biden slipped. I mean, I can't imagine any of this. Really? You think she's not doing it? You think
New
Biden's
York
really
lost
slipping?
$1 trillion in investors. $1 trillion.
That's because people are moving out.
And Grant Cardone said he's got like 15,000 investors he's working with. He can't get any of them to put money into New York right now.
He said he's not going to be investing in New York.
Yep.
Grant Cardone moving forward. I saw that last week. He's had it.
Yeah, and going back to, I meant to play this clip a little bit earlier and forgot to. Here's Representative, it's cut 12, Representative Scott Perry ripping into the reporters and shredding them about questions about the Hunter Biden corruption.
All right, Trump is on. Let's go to the president right now, live from Mar-a-Lago.
This is a good time. You all grew up in a place just like this, right? Yeah. How are you?
I'm fabulous.
You were so amazing. I walk in, nobody knew I was coming, and she grabbed me and she hugged me. She said, I like you. And she's tough, too. I tell you, she doesn't like a lot of people, right? But it's an honor to have you and your friends and everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be able to bring us
It's
here.
great. We're going to have some good beer. We have the fake news with us tonight. We're going to have a little good stuff to eat. Mar-a-Lago is a special place. You see that? So I just did a couple of interviews that are on tonight. Dr. Phil. I did a Dr. Phil interview. It was interesting. And so let's go and let's have something good to eat. And we appreciate very much everybody. Thank you for coming. It's a great group of people. And I appreciated you very much. That was something when we walked in.
Oh, did you cry?
No, it was beautiful. That was from the heart, too. Yes. And I think, to a large extent, because of what we've done with the colleges, black colleges and universities, I got them funded. When I was president, I got to know the heads of many of the black colleges and universities because they'd come, and after 2 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? He said, well, we feel like beggars because they never extended. They give it 1 year, and then we have to come back the next. I said, you shouldn't have to do that. And these are great people. The job they do is incredible. And I got them long-term financing, more money than they ever thought possible, more than they wanted. And they're doing a great job. I said, the only bad part is I'll never see you again, probably. That's the bad thing. They said, we don't like that either. But I got them taken care of. And Michaela knew that. And she came up to me, she said, thank you. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let's see. Thank you, everybody. Have you lost confidence in your legal team? No. It's a rigged system, and it's a terrible system, actually, but it's a rigged system, and I think we're doing very well. We had a big thing happen in Georgia today. You saw that. And step by step, this is a rigged situation. This is a situation where they go after a political opponent, and it all takes place from the White House and from the DOJ, including the state and city cases. And if I wasn't running, there would be nothing. And we're leading Biden by a lot. He's the worst president in the history of our country. And we're leading him by a lot. We have to beat him because otherwise we're not going to have a country left. So, thank you.
Mr. President, what should Republicans be doing against the coordinated lawfare, against their own party?
Well, they have to fight it. They have to fight it. And it's a very dangerous thing because if the Republicans go after the Democrats the same way, we're going to have, that's all we're going to be doing in our country. It's a very dangerous thing, but you can't weaponize the DOJ. And you look at the DOJ ran this thing, the local, you call it a city or a state, but the DOJ ran it. And that's a very bad thing. It's a very dangerous moment, really a dangerous moment for our country. Can't let it happen.
In your New York case, you said you want to see the Supreme Court intervene. How and when exactly do you want to see?
Well, we'll see what happens. This is a unique case because they've interfered with the Republican nominee for President of the United States. There's never been anything like that before. And in this case, it was a judge who was appointed. He didn't even get elected. He's appointed. And you take a look at the conflict. Now, I'm gagged. I have a gag order. Can you believe it? I'm the Republican nominee. I'm leading Biden by a lot. And I will say we had the biggest fundraising in the history of politics over the last week. There's never been anything like it. And that, in a certain way, is like a poll, I would say, right? It's a big poll. But it's been, I think, the biggest fundraising ever. Because the people know it's wrong what's happening. You can't do that to a country. And you can't gag a nominee. Can you imagine? You're running for office and you're gagged. You're not allowed to talk. When that happens, we are no longer a democracy. And we're not going to let that happen. And I know a lot of Republicans want retribution. They want to do that. We're going to see what happens. Hopefully everything works out. But you can't do it. You can't have a local judge tell a Republican nominee that he can't talk about things because there's a lot of things that we can talk about. They're very easy questions to talk about. You can't let this happen to our country. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
Yep. All right. So there we go. There's the president. We lost the audio there. It looks like their press is getting ushered out of the room. But the president gave some remarks there.
Can I give you some stats?
Took a couple questions about the president.
Yeah, about the president and the minority vote.
Yeah.
And, just to remind people, the list of Trump's accomplishments, the unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, Native Americans, veterans, disabilities, and those without a high school diploma had record lows of unemployment under him. 7 million people came off of food stamps. The poverty rates for African Americans and Hispanic reached record lows. Income inequality fell for 2 straight years, and by the largest amount in over a decade when he was done. The bottom 50% of American households saw a 40% increase in net worth. Wages rose fastest for low-income and blue-collar workers, a 16% pay increase. And we know African American home ownership went from 41.7 to 46.4% under Donald Trump. Just a reminder.
Yeah, there you go. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about it. The numbers speak for themselves. So, so the president took some questions. Obviously, okay, that's fine. What'd you think, Delgado, quickly, of the president there?
It was just a quick poking to say hi.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
People appreciate the FaceTime, and I think that's, again, those are those important things that people don't realize. That when you show up to these smaller events and he gets FaceTime and he does personal stuff, that's the stuff that really, I think, sells him better than anything, because he makes those connections with people. He mentions the woman who came up, gave him a big hug. He says, you're our guy.
I believe that's the girl from the Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Who,
and that's the kinds of those are the kinds of things that resonate. That's going to end up on social media, her personal social media. She's going to be sharing it. It's going to go viral. People are going to start to see that. They start to see this. The mainstream media is not controlling his
world,
the definition of Donald Trump anymore. He's letting the people do it, and I think that's what's really vaulting him, especially when you talk about these other demographics. That's why he's getting so popular in these other demographics, because it's not the news saying you got to hate him because of this or you got to love him because of this. It's people just using their own experience.
And there were a lot of HBCU students at that Chick-fil-A along with that woman, and he had that epic summit at the White House with the HBCUs when he was president, shattering the myths. And then Byron Donalds, I have a clip later if we have time, or I'll play it tomorrow. Hakeem Jeffries is bashing Byron Donalds for saying that things were better for blacks under Jim Crow. He was accusing Donalds of saying that, and Donalds corrected the record. And that's a great video about all, the Democrats did the Jim Crow laws. The Democrats ran the South. And by the way, Byron Donalds has a 95% score with Turning Point, and I think 100% with Liberty Scorecard, by the way.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a quick break here. We'll do that, and then we will wrap it up when we get back. President live from Mar-a-Lago there. Glad we could bring that to you live from Studio 6B on a Wednesday night. We'll be back right after this.
Are we in the break? Okay. Exactly. Oh, the guy talking about Delgado?
Oh, what did he say?
He says you're batshit crazy.
Oh, I'm cool with that.
No,
I like him.
No, nobody's talking about you. No.
All right, are we live in the break right now, or we're not?
Who don't they like?
Okay.
There we are.
I didn't see us. Yeah, that's fine.
Then we're back.
I think he's walking some guests out. Can we go live?
I see a Doug Bergram as probably a cabinet member. Maybe something like that. Kind of rewarding him. I don't see him as a vice president.
Who? Bergam?
Yeah.
I don't.
No way.
I'd say keep him as far away from everything as possible, please.
Well, it's got to be something he's good at, right?
Well,
yeah, whatever the left wants, ask them.
They had like 1% unemployment there during the shale boom. So that's how he got his status.
Yeah. Well, they could have had that under me, too. Or you or anyone else.
But you had guys, when things weren't doing so great in the economy, going to North Dakota making $200,000 a year, which was like unheard of back in 2013, 2015.
People seem to like J.D. Vance. I see a lot of Vance being the best one.
Yeah.
Damon, Trump's running mate can't be from Florida. Yeah, that's what is that? The 12th Amendment problem? I think there's some issues there. So yeah, that's why when you see Rubio, I don't know if this list is like just a deflector list that they put out to just get everybody focused on those names or what.
So who could be outside that realm? Like besides Vivek, Musk, or somebody? Who else would? Right? Who do you think could be an alternate to those?
JD is too valuable to give up in the Senate. I don't think anyone's too valuable to give up in the Senate under Mitch McConnell. What are they doing? Nothing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up a governor. All right, we're still live during the break. Our clock's a little messed up because of the Trump stuff, so just bear with us.
Live TV, baby. Come on.
Yeah, this is now you get to see all the guts and what's going on.
Great show, Damon. Thanks very much.
How many guys show this? Nobody shows this between the break that I have ever seen.
Yeah, because it's terrible.
Right. No, it's good stuff.
Speak for yourself, Delgado.
I'm joking.
You should have saved your bat story for one of these breaks.
Yeah, really.
You know what? My bat story was
Save
interesting.
your bat story for 10:01.
Your bat story was like, forget it.
I'm doing a whole third hour about bats.
Damon is so mean to. Oh, here it is.
What's it? There's a
we got a new
conspiracy.
segment. The Damon is mean to Delgado segment. At what
Where's
point
that?
is it going to come?
Yeah.
Damon is so mean to Del. We need music for this so I can read it over. Damon is so mean to Delgado. Look at the way he sits with his back to him. Oh God.
That's pretty funny.
Can't make it up. Cannot make it up.
Stop looking at me, Damon. You're making me uncomfortable.
Oh my God. From Studio 6B on a crazy Wednesday night. It's been a busy one, waiting for President Trump, who just came out at Mar-a-Lago, having a nice dinner there tonight. Spoke a little bit. Damon, do you believe in UFOs? No. I have Delgado on the show. That's enough. So I don't need any more in my life than that. So Slick Rick's doing sports. Delgado's been doing news. Let me turn my back to him. David Zier's here. He's doing some news as well. Aaron and Fran holding it down as always. And, of course, special thanks to Parker and everybody at Real America's Voice coordinating behind the scenes. All this is very fluid every night. So it's always tough work for them. So we appreciate what they're doing as well, working with Fran and Aaron in there. Let's do a little more of everybody before we wrap it up. Slick, I'll start with you. Sure. What else is going on in sports? Quickly?
All right, well, we want to go back to the French Open. We got tennis prodigy Mira Andreeva stuns Aryna Sabalenka at French Open to become youngest semifinalist since 1997. Mira Andreeva is the youngest Grand Slam semifinalist since Martina Hingis. Remember her? Paulina Daddage of Fox News. Mira Andreeva made history on Wednesday when she defeated top-ranked tennis pro Aryna Sabalenka in the quarterfinals at the French Open to become the youngest Grand Slam semifinalist in nearly 30 years. Andreeva, a 17-year-old unseeded player from Russia, won the match 6-7, 6-4, 6-4, and she did so by going off script. I always play by the way I want to play. We have a plan after my coach for the match, but after I forgot everything, and when I play a match, I don't have any thoughts in my head, she said after the match. Sounds like Delgado prepping for the show. So maybe I would say that my strength could be that. I just play how I want to, and I do whatever I want. So we will see what happens with her, and obviously I'll follow all the matches throughout the weekend. Andrina and Paolini will face off Thursday morning, early in the day. The women's world number one, Iga Swiatek, will face off against Coco for Coco Golf. So we'll see what happens there as well. And if I got time for one more quick one. All right, Muhammad Ali's home.
We're going to have to wrap it.
All right, Muhammad Ali's childhood home, now a museum for sale in Kentucky for $1.5 million.
Well, no, I said you didn't have time. So take all those words back.
I slipped it right in. Flow like a butterfly, sting like a bee, being on the show with Damon.
All right, David, is there anything left that you need to cover that you haven't yet in news?
North Dakota, 1.9% unemployment. 50,000 jobs in oil in 2021 alone.
He's a disaster.
Yeah.
But that's why he's on the
He's
scene.
still pitching.
All right,
I'm not pitching him.
But you're not going to have a Bergam for VP shirt on Monday, are you? Or
I'm
tomorrow?
not. I like Byron Donalds. I like
okay.
J.D. Vance. I like Ben Carson.
All right, very good.
Nice.
Delgado, what else is going on in the news?
A story I started to talk
Aaron,
about.
is this clock right? 3?
Yes.
Okay.
A story I started to talk about in New York City is Governor Hochul announces indefinite pause for the controversial New York City toll plan called congestion pricing. We can't have Hochul take us back to the summer of hell, according to this from Pete Sikora of the New York Communities for Change, worried about the impact of the decision for congestion pricing. Basically, what congestion pricing is, if you don't know, New York City is very, very busy. They've divided it up, the city, into certain areas where now if you drive your car into that area, they've got like the Easy Pass thing set up. So they'll charge you extra for driving your car into that area. Well, it turns out that's been a bit of a problem now as people are freaking out that this is actually happening. And they decided that this is not a good idea for the city to do at this time. Probably because of politics, as, again, New York State has put a pause on this. It was going to be a $15 toll meant to reduce traffic below 60th Street that has become the political headache for Democrats. Hochul did a videotape message and said she would ask top officials at the MTA to pause the implementation of the plan, known as congestion pricing, a reversal of her public support for it. So we'll see what happens with that. It's
Jersey commuters getting crushed.
New York,
middle class
Long Island,
people getting crushed. Cab drivers,
Connecticut. Yep. So everybody's now not paying more for this stupid plan. There you have it. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right, very good. Again, I want to thank everybody working at Real America's Voice behind the scenes. Aaron and Fran doing a great job tonight. And I want to thank Josh Hammer for joining us. Check him out online. Obviously, Josh Hammer and writing at Newsweek. Check him out at the Josh Hammer Show. You can find all his stuff pretty easily. Check him out. Great pleasure having him on the show. We'll have him again. Thanks to everybody on the show, of course, gentlemen, as always. Aaron and Fran, great job, as always, as well, to all of you. We salute our military, active and active police, firefighters, first responders, EMTs, everybody on the front lines protecting us, all our truckers, all our farmers. But most of all, we thank you, live from Studio 6B audience, for another great night. Make sure you follow us on social media, like and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow night right here, 8 o'clock, live from Studio 6B.